if I understand your intent, because my scenario was to show that there are situations where due process is not followed, and U.S. citizens are being detained by ICE. That is a fact, and that the First Amendment right and Second Amendment rights, such as the right to carry, etc., has been violated.
I believe that her first statement when she got here was, "Let's be Socratic." Are you so
That's
stupid?
what she said.
Trying
She
to
did
do
say
that.
She did say that. She did say
don't know what that means.
But
it means that she's
yeah, but she doesn't want to have a Socratic
what he does actually is I've seen this pattern of what he does. He tries to get on someone
you look at where
else's
you end up,
information.
and then either you disagree or agree. If you don't answer the questions to end up somewhere, then you can't get there.
That's true. That's what a Socratic method is.
With the Socratic method, they never end up.
Made the call. Okay, shut up. Look, I was the one who made the call. I understand.
And be clear on the specifics of the encounter and the event, not in the abstract. So when you can break it down to the specifics, you can then see whether there was a denial of a due process or a right. But you have to define the case study. You have to.
Yes, but there's so many.
But you
right
weren't
now.
doing that. You were talking in the abstract.
Yeah, but I think I'm looking at a lot of the cases where I do feel in this current administration.
Look. Now we know what conclusion Ray Vela is drawing. Right now, specifics do you think might be relevant here, Abby?
Like literally don't know the conclusion.
What I think would be relevant is the behavior of the victim in those scenarios, whether the victim was in their law right protesting, they were protesting either at a permitted protest, or it fell within time, place, and manner. If the victim, whoever was ultimately harmed, did anything that caused a provocation, and if the mind that then in the mind of the officer, there was a threat. And you just have to go through who did what, who said what, when did they did it, what time of day did they do it, how did they do it. Those are all questions. When you have someone make a blanket statement, someone's denied their due process, I will never just accept a statement like that. I want to know, I got to break a fact pattern down. I'm sorry, that's how I...
Deepak, can I just read something?
And by the way, that's how you should all think when you hear these things. You should break it down.
Look, okay, Brian, you've heard like the criteria that Abby was using, right? Do you think you could point to like specific cases where you think a reasonable person or maybe the understanding of the law?
Yeah, my understanding of law, and we'll go back to the Alex case. Yeah, I'll go back to the Alex case because I mean, my concern largely, and Abby, I love your insight on what the officers were perceiving. But from your fact pattern, it appears that I when you look at it to Alex and those who were around, he did not approach with force, and again, that is yet to be determined because according to his attorneys and other people's attorneys, there was no force involved. He was holding a camera, so a recording. According to the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, right? You can record. You have the right to record a police or federal agents, ICE and CBP, in public places, as long as you're not physically interfering with their work, right?
Okay, so quick question for you. Just looking at this, was there any interaction between the officers prior to that time when he approached them out in the street?
Not physically interfering with their work like that.
Yes, there actually was. You can see the video. Another video shows him being pushed onto the sidewalk and told basically to stay out of the street. Now, he has no legal authority to direct traffic or anything. He has no authority to intervene and come within close proximity of these people carrying out their duties. And so therefore, that is a breach of their security. Now, I'll ask you this. Whose obligation is it to keep every citizen, federal law enforcement, and the people protesting safe? Whose job is that? That would be the Minneapolis Police Department. They were on site. Okay, so they failed their obligation there. So they should have been there.
That feeds into your All right,
Now,
I'm going to quote all of you from here in this room.
So here's the deal. He then came back out on the street, then interfered. Now, if you go and you look at the areas of the law, it literally talks about assault, threats, resistance to law, to federal authority, interfering, intervening.
Stop talking
These
here.
These are all things that are all facts if you look at the law. And if you look at the law, these are the things that are going to matter in the case. Now, he had an interference before. He was told to stay on the sidewalk. He ignored them and came at them again. Okay? So this man has a history of defying authority.
Which would put in the reasonable mind, which puts in the reasonable mind of the officer that he is a potential threat because that history now.
And Abby, there's threats. They literally showed video body cam footage of these officers being told street saying that they're going to kill them.
So-
As soon as there's threats, that's enough. Once the threat
So
happens,
they're being charged with, if they're being charged, officers being charged with the crime,
No.
may I finish? His actions mitigate the possibility of a crime being committed by them because his actions mitigated it by having the prior threats. There you go.
Well, but there was excessive force, which is the Fourth Amendment violation.
How do you determine excessive force?
Because when you look at it, they forced him to the ground, and again, they claim he claimed self-defense. Other people,
They should have forced him to the ground, and when they shoot, they should shoot as many fucking times as they have to kill the person.
Okay,
That's
but
what they're supposed to do, and that's what the
again,
Supreme
excessive
Court has
force,
said.
because even though he had a gun,
It's like
there was
fucking
no
times, but
reasonable.
it said it that way.
Yeah, but I think there was no perception because he had both of his hands were occupied, so he had the phone in his hands. If you looked at the video, right, he was unarmed, even though he had the gun in the back of his back area. There was no.
So he was not unarmed.
There was no
And
reasonable.
did they know
threat.
if there was
He
a
was
gun
being
in his
pepper
sock?
sprayed. He was being pepper sprayed, tackled, and he was pinned to the ground at the time he was shot multiple times.
He was resisting.
He was on his knees.
He was on his knees, and we don't know if there was a gun in his ankle, a gun strapped around anywhere else.
Okay, so has anybody in here, and I'm guessing you probably haven't, Bree, but if you've wrestled, I mean, we could say get in a fight, wrestled, been in a fight, been in a situation where you're in close quarters with somebody. Are you privy to seeing what happened to his hip? Are you privy to seeing the gun on his hip? Because most of the officers didn't see the gun. Why?
There were several officers. There was the officer that took
Bree,
it.
I let you go.
Okay.
So please let me finish.
Okay.
So, do you know what their standards are for what they're allowed to do? How many people can be on per limb? When they're on that limb, are they privy to see what's on his ankle? Are they privy to see what's on his hip? No. If I'm on his left side and I've got a hold of his leg and I'm trying to get this guy on the ground and I can't get him on the ground, four of us can't get this guy on the ground and spread him out, even on an icy road, right? What I'm looking at as an officer is I see him, I'm on the left side. I am protected from the right side. I can't see that. What you watch, we're watching it from a spectator's position. And what you need to do is a reasonable position of the officer. Okay, now I'm on the left side, right? All of a sudden, I hear gun, and it is a split second later. The gun misfires. What he hears, I'm on the left side. I hear gun. I know all of us have a gun, so we're not going to yell, we have a gun. When we hear gun, we're thinking guy on the ground has a gun. I hear gun. I'm on the left side. I hear a discharge of that firearm. You're going to tell me that a judge is going to be like, well, you should have waited to see if that was a gun in his hand, because if you look, he did reach back to the right side. He didn't grab it. It was gone. But it doesn't matter. If I'm on the left side and I'm protected from seeing that, I have to act reasonably to do what? Protect myself and others. But say he fires the gun and misses me, but he shoots somebody on the sidewalk. Then are you going to say, well, they were beating him up and it was an accident, he shot them, or is he going to be charged for firing that gun? I'm going to go back one step further and go, what are the legal requirements for you as a gun toter? You're carrying a gun, concealed, and a riot, because that's what by law it is. There's violence, there's threats, and there's intervening and interfering with the officers. All of those things lean to riot. What are the legal requirements at that point? To remove yourself, the weapon, from the scene. So these are the things that you have to look at, Bree. So now I'll let you go, and you can try to tear apart the legal ramifications of what I just said that hold it to a certain standard.
Well, there's a certain standard, first of all, for officers of the law to have a duty to de-escalate, right? Even though you have a reasonable fear, I understand the reasonable fear, you still have an obligation to de-escalate, right? So when he's on, excuse
Hold
me?
on, she asked me right, so I'm going to say absolutely. I agree with you. They have to
If
do
you
the
have
duty
the
to de-escalate.
time to do it.
But when they try to de-escalate, he grabs the woman and he drags her in the street while they're pulling him off of her.
I disagree with that narrative because
I'm telling you
I think we have to see the, I'm sorry, I'm not going to, I understand, but you've got to look at the timeline and the timing of that. Because at what point you can look at a video and look at the reasonable fear, right? And at which the responsibility and that
reasonable fear of who? For him or for the officer?
No, for the officer. You can look at that, but you can also look at you got to look at the fallacy that is the cell phone versus weapon fallacy. Because first of all, he had a cell phone, but he had a weapon in the back. He never touched the weapon in the back, ever. He had a jacket. You can see you saw the shirt go up, and you saw the gun, and they circled it when you saw it multiple times, right? But his hand was never reaching towards that is a fact. And there is no other factor towards the reasonable fear at which the officer must distinguish between the defensive posture, which is okay, and an offensive threat. And from holding the phone in his hands, there was no offensive threat.
Where he kicked the police car and they detained him.
Oh yeah, that was like a week before.
Ice, you left out something about the facts of the case. The CPD was brought in to do crowd control because ICE was in the donut shop trying to apprehend somebody, and the protesters were blocking ICE from leaving the donut shop. That's what spawned this whole thing. And we don't know what happened prior to the video.
This is so weird. Before she moved to the Bronx, she lived in Nashville.
Really? That's
She
so
moved from
random.
Nashville to the Bronx.
Did you want me to be in your slow ass city?
Hold on.
Nigga, we got a basketball team. We got 2 football teams.
You have
we got
all
everything
$1 million
else. You want me to
property.
be in
And
your
all the
slow
white
ass
people is buying up y'all property.
city? I don't own their property, so I don't know.
That's
Okay,
a whole.
okay.
Hello, She-Ho.
No way, Jose, stop.
You need to stop playing with me.
I'm gonna be on a
I'm not even playing with you. You start calling me names
Nah, you
first.
start defending that petty lover.
So I gotta be a hoe because I'm friends with this nigga on the internet?
Nigga that's petty, he'll still do business with pedophiles.
Oh, God. See what you got me into, Samoa?
Sorry.
Well, you're a hoe because, well, I don't, that's not, come on. I don't go that far, man.
I mean,
All right, no way, Jose. Now, when they move you down, I ain't gonna bring you back up
keep
now.
bringing me up.
I did not.
Hey, you can't kick it with no panties. I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
And you from LA? You know how we deal with panties. You better stop playing.
That nigga just sound like his wrist bent.
What?
Nothing.
That's cool.
With one hand holding his phone and the other held up to protect himself from being maced. Pretty reached to wrap his hands around the fallen woman, apparently trying to help her up. An agent shoved Pretty and the woman fell, still embracing. According to the New York Times, Pretty then tried to pull away and made no threatening movements towards the agents, who pulled him backward and forced him to the ground. Pretty was restrained by several agents on the ground with both of his arms pinned down by his head. The agent then pepper sprayed Pretty, hit him with the pepper spray canister multiple times. Wow. Another agent in gray removed Pretty's firearm from his hip. A third agent who had been focused on trying to pepper spray the fallen woman and had his back to Pretty turned around to Pretty after hearing someone yell that he had a gun. Around 5 seconds later, the third agent drew his weapon and shot Pretty at close range, with his arm visibly recoiling in recordings of the event. There's a little bit more. When the first shot was fired, Pretty's gun had already been removed by an agent in gray, and the shooter was standing. This is just recapitulating like the salience. The shooter also had the sight line to see that the agent in gray had removed the gun, but it is unknown whether he witnessed the removal. Fired 3 more shots into the back of Pretty, who appeared to brace himself against the pavement with one hand. Pretty collapsed, and then the 2 agents had fired a total of 10 shots in 5 seconds.
Wrong is his hands were not restrained. He was on his hands and knees. There was one point in time in which his hands were restrained. He was moving away. He pulled his hands out of the officer's hands, and he was moving. He was not prone on the ground. He was not complying.
Wait a minute.
I thought he said that he was not resisting. I thought his voice said he was not resisting.
I don't know. I'd probably resist a person banging me with a pepper spray can.
Can I have
I guess.
Prone on the ground with your hands and legs spread. That is not
true. The Supreme Court has said very clearly that when you're being hit on the face with a pepper spray canister, you just sit and take it like a man, right?
Agree.
Yeah.
So
That's on Pretty.
if you are not
or is this just going to be
I can show you the source where it says Pretty was restrained by several. So you're disputing this part,
I've
right?
watched
Pretty was restrained by several agents on the ground with both of his arms pinned down by the head.
Restrained. There's times in which they're not. There is a time after his hands were restrained where his hands were not restrained. It happened at the same time that the guy hit him in the head with the mace can. He was not complying. He was resisting arrest in every video.
You're making 2 different claims here. One is that there was some point in time at which his hands weren't restrained. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is exactly. And the second is that, he was resisting arrest. What do you mean he was resisting arrest? He's down on the ground, right? He's gotten pepper sprayed. He's getting hit on the head with,
have you ever seen a
pepper spray.
high-speed pursuit? What do they tell them to do? At the end of a high-speed pursuit, they get you prone on the ground. You're flat on your stomach. Your arms and legs are spread in what they call the prone position. He was on his hands and knees. I'm not contradicting myself. You're not answering the question though. In what sense? Exactly what I'm saying, which is at one point in time, his hands were restrained by 2 of the officers. After that, his hands were not restrained, and he was moving around. He was not pinned. He was not prone. He was resisting. He was moving. That is technically
William, how can you differentiate?
Hang on. Let's just get this. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deepak. How can you differentiate? I don't know. Have you ever been jumped before by more than one person? When you're being jumped, right? When there's more than one person coming at you, there's a fine line between protecting yourself from not getting hurt from everything that's happening. And then, you're not, how can you differentiate him and say that he's resisting versus trying to protect himself? We already saw and know that he was trying to pick up the woman. We saw the pepper spray happen, right? Pepper spray, you're that's in your face. That's one thing. And now all of a sudden he's not resisting would be fighting back. He was bracing down because he was getting jumped.
And what by you say, I just, you can't differentiate that. You have multiple bodies, multiple pressure points. A lot of things are happening. You have to, anybody is going to rightly protect their body parts, their limbs, their face, their structure. He wasn't fighting, he wasn't punching and pushing, right? Resisting by bracing down to protect yourself by a bunch of external pressures who just, I don't know.
Look, it's absurd.
Yeah, let me jump in here. I have a question though. I've been waiting for a while. I like to jump in here. I have a question.
No new questions. No new questions. We're resolving one thing at a time. No.
We're talking about the same shit, bro. It's the same shit,
okay,
Deepak.
Then go ahead. Yeah. Then just
yeah,
when people jump in and say I have a question, it's usually
but I've been waiting for a grip. I've been real polite. I've allowed everybody to get in front of me.
Please keep it on topic.
Would you allow me to speak? Let me know what I can speak.
You can keep it on topic. Okay, it sounds like he doesn't want to be on topic. I don't know. You're going to go ahead or what?
Dude, you're weird. But anyway, here's the point. The question, I know, I can tell. The point of it is are any of these people paid?
I fucking knew it. I knew it. That 3-second pause. That 3-second pause can tell you it has told us all we needed to know.
Getting paid to die.
People come on stage thinking, they could cheer to fucking give a TED talk or some bullshit. Okay, look. So Bhima, I kind of said mostly what I wanted to say. So does anyone have a response to that?
No, I was just gonna say, don't police officers do self-defense classes? They take shit like Krav Maga and BJJ and shit like that. So they should be able to hold the dude down without firing off a shot and detain him. I think it shows lack of skill and professionalism to take somebody's life because a shot rang out from a gun that he didn't even have in his hand. I think that shit is weird.
Bhima's point is simply that there's a difference between resisting arrest and protecting your body parts when you're being smashed in the face with a pepper spray canister, right?
You don't force yourself to your knees again. You go face down and get your hands out, as I think it was Williams stated earlier. There's a prone position, and that keeps you from getting your face beat in. If it was me and I'm getting my face beat in, I'm putting my face to the ground and I'm covering my face and my head, just like if somebody were kicking.
That's easy ice to say, hindsight, though. But when these things are happening, right? How many times have people done that, and their arms and shoulders have just been broken off? And there's just so many things
Tell me.
What do you mean?
You just said without hindsight, because that's exactly what an officer is required to do, and what the law states is viewing it without hindsight. Now, you're an officer of the law. How many officers get shot in the line of duty a year? You don't know, but I'm going to guess it's a lot.
We're starting to drift off topic again.
No, we're going back to the law. You wanted to talk about the fact that you aren't in a prone position.
Bro,
act this way, there's a justification for the officer to act in their way. He had multiple points, multiple people touching him, grabbing him, pulling him in different ways, right? He just didn't have one direction. It wasn't just one person telling him what to do. It wasn't clear. It wasn't okay, this is what I'm doing. It wasn't get on. Do you know what I'm saying? There was people are coming from all over, and it's complete chaos in that moment.
Okay.
And I think that it's unreasonable to.
What's he required to do by law? What is he required
to do by law? It's not about what he's required
to
do by law. It's about what actually happens. Because, dude, when you're being jumped,
goes by.
What
the judge tells.
All right, go ahead.
Do you know what the judge tells the jury before the case even starts? He explains the laws and how they are to view them and interpret the law. That's what the judge does. And so, why is that? Because they have to understand what is expected by the officers and what is expected by the person being apprehended. When you start to resist arrest, the laws start to change. I beg you to please go read the laws. Don't interpret the laws, just read them.
And that's great, but we gotta interpret the laws.
You can have all the laws on the book. Sorry,
we have to make an attempt. If we're gonna oh my God.
Look at other cases where cops got shot. Type of shit was that?
Okay, that's great, CM. But look, if we're gonna look, the point at issue is whether whatever was happening there counts as resisting arrest, right? And I still don't see it. I mean, you're saying that, there's a very specific position you have to go into when the car, it's like, it's like in kindergarten when they say crisscross applesauce, right? You cross your legs or you get sent to the principal's office. Like, no, I don't think I suspect that's not quite how the law is supposed to be interpreted, right? Like, obviously there's behavior that's going to be clear to a jury and a judge as being resisting arrest, right? And then there's another set of behaviors that like won't be, right? And from what I read in this description, it doesn't sound like he's resisting arrest, right? So he's down on the ground. He's protecting his body parts from getting smashed in with a pepper spray canister, right? At some point, his hands were pinned behind his waist, right? Now this other guy is disputing. He's saying he saw the video and he's saying that's not true. I mean, okay, it's his word against the New York Times, I guess, who's done a freeze frame of the whole video, but okay, whatever.
Look at my picture, and that's one of the freeze frames that they've done. They've shown this picture all over. You can see this is the point they started shooting, and you can see his right hand is free and up off the ground. He's reaching outward towards the right side. On the left side, you cannot see.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm sorry, but that one frame is hard to like. What am I supposed to be looking at?
What do you see in that picture? You see his backside with his right hand completely free. Nobody's on it.
Look, I have no idea what I'm looking at. The problem is I've barely seen the original video.
That's your evidence, bro? Are you serious?
That's a freeze frame that everybody's moving out.
It's just a limb sticking out of like a blue tackle.
I have no idea what this is.
There's one person in that picture.
You can't see.
It looks like two people, to be honest. It's two people on the right and left, and then Alex Preddy in the middle.
Alex Preddy is on his knees in the middle, yes, and it's his right arm reaching back. You can see the other officers are standing up and they're starting to shoot. That's the point at which the gunshot started. They froze it there.
To give context, do you all understand how hard it is to get shot by the police coming from someone who's had a gun on a police officer?
This is not police. This is ICE. Yeah, but this is not police, though. This is ICE. You haven't had the kind of thing.
ICE is federal officers.
Yeah, but I'm telling you it's not relevant, though. I'm pointing out why it's relevant. Right?
Yes, but they may not have the training as the military, as the Minnesota police would.
Not that the police have amazing amounts of training either in this country, but whatever.
So okay, even if we're going off the context of so you want to play semantics, federal versus local police?
Nope, I don't. No, I want to play the game where categories of people matter, right? Like ICE is not the military is not the police for good reason, right? We don't send the freaking Marines in whenever someone's house gets robbed. They don't have the training to know how to deal with that.
That's not their jurisdiction, sir.
It's not really true. They don't have the training, right?
It's not their
They don't have the training to deal. Not that the police have either, honestly, but they're supposed to at least.
And that was a poor example because most Marines flow into law enforcement. So that was a very poor example.
This is part of the problem. Yes, this is part of the problem with policing in this country.
My gosh.
And the Marines go into cities all the time. They did it all throughout Iraq. I mean, they dig up their training.
In the war zones, yes. Yes, in war zones, yeah.
So Deepak, let me ask you something, sir. Do you appreciate the quality of life America gives you?
Yes.
Right. You know that's based off of law. You know that the quality is preserved by law, right?
Yes. So very much. This is why I'm very much in favor of a rule of law and not in favor of paramilitary forces under the control of the federal government. The kind of thing that I thought libertarians told us to watch out against, right?
Well, a lot of that stuff comes from that G20.
Law enforcement trains by the theory of having to operate one level of violence above what the target or what needs to be neutralized is operating.
The fuck kind of principle is that? Where is
That's
that written
called
down?
how you maintain
That might be your fantasy version.
Understand the reality.
Look, that might be your fantasy version of GTA law enforcement bullshit. Right? That's not how law enforcement has usually been understood in civilized Western countries.
Having a firearm on his persons and refusing to comply.
Dude, it's more than just law and order.
That might be your jackboot fantasy.
Right?
Right?
It's beyond idiotic to employ that kind of behavior as a concealed firearm.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, yeah. And like you talk about appreciating like the rule of law on which this country was founded, right? Like you are a prime example, sir, of not appreciating the history at all. Like of how you got the country that's like you neither understand nor deserve.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you are a prime example of someone not understanding, right, what the country that the principles of the country was founded on, right? Like that you neither like understand nor deserve.
So, sir, I understand. Oh, go ahead, Ice. I'm sorry.
So Deepak, so I'm just going to run with you a little bit on the training thing. So it's a different type of training that they both do, and there's both on-the-job training and all of that both do, right? So knowing that the Minneapolis PD is better trained to keep the public safe in those situations when ICE is trained for deportation actions, where does the obligation lie for the security of the people on the streets? And that means whether it's federal agents, it doesn't matter, anybody on the streets of Minneapolis, where does the obligation lie for safety?
Sorry, what specific, like you're saying who's responsible?
Where does the obligation for safety for the people on the streets, every single person on the streets and on the sidewalks, who holds the obligation for their safety?
This brings me to confliction, okay, because I don't think that we need to ask permission to protest, right? I don't think any power that is corrupt is going to give you an opportunity, give you the blueprint on how to take it down, okay? But with that being said, I do know that is why we largely put in permits to protest, because it's for the cops to come out and your local police to protect you, protect the citizens, protect everybody else. And I feel that that's ultimately right. And I think ultimately that's what failed here. We can, I'm upset about Alex Preddy. I'm upset about Renee Good. I think this is really new territory that we're what is it called, traversing right now, right? And so I think ultimately it's really about where do we want to go as a people? Like, we're America, okay? We're supposed to be the best country in the world, okay? We have morals. We don't need to be that didn't need to happen. And there's better ways for us to do everything, but also not to just say, hey, don't protest. Don't listen. No, that's good. It's good. And I get frustrated by everybody that is particularly the right. And excuse me, this is very frustrating as somebody who is, built up and, I based my career. I was all right. I was a Republican. 10 years ago, the Republicans weren't talking this. Republicans, we were hanging out, bringing weapons, fully, freaking max to the teeth, loaded to protest. This was a part. Constitutional right. This is what we're meant to do. I'm happy that our American public is showing out, they're protesting, and they're saying, hey, look, because listen, we have a system, but sometimes the course of action, right, of stopping what some people perceive to be harm and then actually stopping the policy, it's difficult, right? Why do we protest? Specifically, we have the ICE it's right under the control of the presidency, right? So what are our options? Oh, free speech, assembly, petition the government. So what do? We protest. That's going to influence public opinion. Public opinion is supposed to influence our elections. Then the legislators are supposed to, respond to it. That's a long process. It's a good thing that we have our citizens coming out and protesting. I'm happy, right? But let's regulate that in a way that is not regulated through violent force, okay? But regulate it through, okay, let's figure out better ways to organize. So it just didn't need to happen. Whether it's we put it on our the local jurisdiction, the mayors, the governors, that they should have been out there. They should. Even your county executive. My county executive goes to every single. Any little thing that's popped up, that's all he does all day. He's been to every single protest. It doesn't matter how big or small. He shows up. He makes sure everybody's protected. Everybody's okay. That stuff should have had there should have been something else there, right?
And so exactly my point. And what we had is we had a governor and a mayor just really being, let's just call it anti this administration. So they didn't want to cooperate. Now, certain counties in Minnesota do cooperate and have said they work great. And actually, they've said they've gotten a little bitter because they want to take credit. ICE wants to take credit for it, but a lot of very violent people were handed over to them. Those counties, the sheriff said, no, we'll cooperate. Minneapolis was different, right?
That was
Sanctuary City. So we had that issue. Now, what happens is I throw this out there. There's a history in Minnesota, and we all know it. They burned a police precinct down. They've looted. They've literally set buildings on fire. They have burned cars. They've pulled people from cars. They've literally destroyed a federal vehicle, stole classified documents, stole weapons from a federal vehicle. We've watched all this happen just recently. And that's the difference. You just said it. The right's gone out and protested, but they were peaceful and they had guns. They were loaded to the gills with guns. Hold on. They were loaded to the gills with guns, and nothing happened. So this is my point. Hold on. I'm just about done. My point is, there's a very difference, and the problem is the officials in every city and state should be very aware of the reality of what's going on. It was all over before these shootings happened. It was all over with these guys being pelted with ice balls, snowballs. They get them, pour water on them, throwing things at them, pouring things on them, screaming at them, telling them they're going to kill them, telling them they were, going to beat their ass. All these things were going on for days. It was all over the news, social media, and yet they didn't do anything. But what they did is they came out and said, well, our police officers are more worried about preventing important things like murder. Well, 2 people died, and stores got beat to hell because ICE officers were inside. One, they thought, ICE officers are in this hotel, and they beat the shit out of the hotel. Now, these are the things that if you had the police in the street, you start detaining people. Shortly after that, there was some place that they showed, like 750 people got detained. The cops said, there's enough of this. And guess what happened? Everything de-escalated. Okay, that's what we have to do. But we also have to admit we've got politicians who say things in office. Now, I'm going to use a standard that was set. You can look it up, fact check me, but Trump said peacefully and patriotically walk down to the Capitol. Now, some of those people became assholes. Some broke windows. Some did stupid shit. We're not going to disagree there. But they wanted to impeach him over that. They wanted to have all sorts of problems. But we literally had people on the other side saying that don't stop fighting, take to the streets. There should be blood in the streets. We'll bury them under the Capitol. We will do this. You kick them, you chase them out of restaurants. All of these things. And all of a sudden, you have to ask. Hold on, I'm saying 2 more seconds, probably 5 more seconds. You just have to ask yourself.
Why are you talking about January 6th right now, man?
There was a parallel.
Standard, is what I'm saying.
You gotta let us get on the mic, Brady.
You're literally having people in Washington, D.C. that can't get in trouble, telling the people in the streets, go do shit they shouldn't be doing. They can literally say, I didn't tell them to actually burn anything. I didn't tell them to actually kill anybody. So that's the difference. We have politicians that are fucking stoking the fires, and the people are paying the consequences.
Yo, Bima, you understand that from what I interpreted, unless I misconstrued what you said, you kind of just word saladed your way to admitting that was the result of the left's impulsive ass actions. And going forward, what I challenge you to do is, because you never hear this amongst you law enforcement detractors, you never mention, not even one. You would think most of y'all would have like the shock value ingrained name of Laken Riley. Remember that name? Beautiful smile, beautiful future. Riley was all never. You guys never. I get it, Freddie, Renee Good. That was like supposed to be a George Floyd martyr in the field, but just have some unbiased respect. Mention some of the other people who were like good contributing members of society and not purposeful agitators at a fucking protest.
Yeah, I don't think
that's why they're.
Yeah, I don't think that that's fair at all. I think that's fair. I don't think that you're being, take it for what it's worth. But I don't think that that's. I can't even deem you to be credible, right? Because what you're telling me is that one, you know that these people have only gotten a paycheck and that they cared zero about what was actually happening. You were able to be in their brain. You have all this magical powers. Hold on.
Right?
One second. So you have all these magical special powers that nobody else does, where you could be in the mind of these individuals, and you're able to mind read because you're so special about what their intent was and what they were trying to do. That's dishonest.
Ma'am.
There have been many people. Hold on, wait a second. And especially in a sanctuary state. Guess what, sir? I'm in a sanctuary state. Do you know we have all of our Republicans right now? Hold on. Wait, hold on. Oh, is it? Hold on. Well, sure. Well, because I'm not a bootlicking statist, okay? Right. Well, listen. Well, I actually that might not be that bad argument for myself, but okay, yeah. But the point is that don't try to. You're going to discredit yourself by pretending to mind read and say that they're absolutely, because it's because it's not a logical argument to claim that they're just sitting there, and then you use these words, right? These dishonest words to say to say an agitator. Well, I'll explain. You use the word agitator. Do you know that's a specific word? That's a specific adjective that's being specifically used from one side, and you're talking about being objective. No, sir. No, it's true.
Stop trying to conflate this.
Listen. Okay. Well, you keep listen. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you, and I can't fight. I can't fight over you. So go ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak and get whatever you have to out, and then I hope that you can give me time to respond. Go ahead.
We appreciate you being a good orator, all right? But stop. It's not even a fucking retort.
Focus on the argument, sir. Focus on the argument.
Dude,
all right, all you're telling me is you don't like what I'm saying, so stop. And you're interrupting, so clearly you're uncomfortable. If you can't be civil interlocutor, then step out, sir.
Go ahead.
So that's my point. To claim that you have special powers of what their intent was or what they were doing. There are plenty of people that are very passionate about this, that have been passionate about this for the past 20 years. This isn't something that's new. The only reason that I believe, this is my personal opinion, because it just makes a lot of sense, is that there's going to be more of this in the news right now because of the increase in the activity, just like anything else. When you add something, when you add more fire to the flame, more fuel to the flame, there's going to be more situations, and it's going to be it just brings naturally more eyes are going to be on it. We've increased. DHS announced January 3rd of 2026 that they've increased ICE agents. We have the most manpower ever in the history, 120% increase. We went from 5,000 to 7,000 agents the year prior to 25,000 agents. Okay, there's a lot more activity. Okay, and that's just in 1 year. So it just makes sense that the public is going to be more, especially sanctuary states. And when you have a sanctuary state, what is a sanctuary state? This is federal state power. This is the territory that I'm talking about. Like you're talking like these people are your enemies, and that's what I think is a sickness. It's an illness. The people, everybody in the United States, whether you want to call the left ill and the left sick, the left calls the right sick and ill. I think you both are sick. I think you both are sick because you don't want to sit there. We can't have solutions, and you don't reduce what's happening down to some basic principles and then just stick to them. You get so caught up in your identity with your political parties that you want to tote your political party over, and you're both so performative. The left and the right are so performative, using dishonest descriptions, right? Where are the objective people where we could sit here, we could really look, okay, what actually happened? Where does America want to go now? When we have a sanctuary state, when we don't want our police to cooperate with ICE because those people, that's the constituents of that state, right? That's representative. This is what the people want. The people say, hey, look, we don't mind that these people are here, right? Well, come and take the criminals, that's fine. But for everything else, we're going to expect prioritization and proportionality. And if we don't see that, we're going to protect our neighbors.
And I agree with you. There's a lot. Like I was outright pissed the first time when Chrissy Nome ran out and said something after the grenade. Shut up. You should come out and say, hey, there's an ongoing investigation. It's what they always say. They don't say anything. She did. And then she did it again in the second one. And I'm just like, you're an idiot. It causes more problems. The best thing you do is you act like a civil adult and say, we will have a statement. We are just learning of this. I'm not the freaking head of Department of Homeland Security, but I'm going to tell you what I would have said. We're investigating this. I wasn't on the ground. I will be reviewing all video footage, getting statements from people on the ground, and we will have a statement as soon as possible for you. Simple as that. Don't play the political bullshit game that she tried to play. Hated it. Hated it with a passion. I moved from South Dakota. I didn't mind what she did there. But what she did those 2 shootings, I looked at her and I said, you're a dumbass. You don't immediately defend. You literally have to be, hey, no colored glasses, no blindfolds. Let's watch and let's see what happens. That's the way that both of those situations should have been handled from her. They failed miserably. Both sides, as you say, play it. And right now it's more divisive than it's ever been. Joe Manchin has talked about this. Bill Maher has talked about this. There's a reason him, Andrew Yang, and others who have ran as Democrats for president have said that they've drifted from that side. We've also watched some people on the right become pain in the asses on their side. And what we need is to have more common ground. Look at John Fetterman. This man is putting a freaking target on his back. Why? Because he says it. It's country over party. This is nonsense to call each other Nazis and all this fascists and everything else. We got one guy that's standing up loud and proud and saying, that's enough. And you know what? Maybe he should run, because you know what? He'll get independent votes. He'll get Democrat votes. He might even get some Republican votes, because everybody's sick of the division. Both sides are. I think everybody can admit that.
Bima, I appreciate that gynocentric viewpoint. You know, it's very typical. Very typical. Because that was a very performative, as you said, performative display of just that.
And I just want to say, what do I want? I lean more right. People, when they sit to have a conversation with me, are like, well, you're not as far right as I thought. No. The law is the law. If you want it changed, you go to Congress and you get it changed. You start.
Or you overturn it. You challenge it.
And here's the deal. You don't do it in the streets by threatening to kill people. The funny thing is you have people yelling about ICE with masks on while they're wearing masks. Well, ICE isn't coming to your house and just arresting Bima or Bob or Joe or me or Abby or anybody else. What are they going after? One thing. But guess what those protesters are doing? They're literally getting people's numbers, addresses, and doxing them.
No, they're recording your pictures via Palantir software, and they're getting your face biometrics and putting it on a list.
Yeah, and we also have the evidence that they were using Signal, and the fact is there was a guy, his name is, I believe, Alex Q, who was summoned to that position 15 minutes prior. He got it. Before that, Alex Q was very active on Signal on that group chat. Since the day of his shooting, since the time of his shooting, moments before, Alex Q, I'll be there in 10 minutes, I think he said on his last message. Since he's been shot, Alex Q is no longer messaging. There's issues with that. They were literally running plates, doing those things. That's not okay, and it's all going to come to light. We can't have protests like that. I'm with you. Take to the streets and do it right. Hell, Martin Luther King, look at the shit that was said to him and done to him, and what did he do? March peacefully. He was leading by an example. You don't think he had anger? You don't think he had frustration? Oh, hell yes, that man did. But he knew you don't win that way. Start showing compassion. Somebody calls you that freaking nasty freaking name, you just, I love you, brother, and just keep walking. And you know what? He got more done than anybody because he finally had the balls to say, I gotta be the bigger man.
So let me be the angel advocate here. I'm going to challenge you on it because I feel, going back to the theme of the room, whether Trump is evil or etc., the compassion I feel has been overrated right now because, as they say, woke is dead. Being compassionate, empathetic is dead, right? I'm of the opposite mind. I believe in empathy and compassion. But what I've seen in this world, which is why the people are divided, right, is because the leaders of today, whatever side you are on, is driving the narrative that I hate you, you hate me. And the one thing that resonated with me one day was when Trump said, well, God says love your neighbor, but I say hate them. He said something, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. And if you're getting that from the top down, you're only going to spread the sickness. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, like Obama encouraged guys to fucking marry each other.
Hey, I'm not in their life. What I am is I've got 3 children that I need to raise in this country, right? And I need them to understand what compassion is. Because what I do believe, and this is just from my spiritual belief, is that it says, and this comes from me, saying we have to love one another. And by love is the greatest power to produce change. Whether, because if we're both in a boat that is about to sink, we all go down together, or we figure a way to fix it.
Pray for your kids' sake, you take a more staunch stance on who they follow. Having them follow some gay sympathizer ain't gonna turn out nothing good.
See, I taught my daughter to understand politicians are corrupt and they're fucked up and they'll kill people just to stay in power. And that's kind of the people we want to be running our country, because it's ruthless to rule the world. And it takes a narcissistic person to be able to do what they have to do to run the world. And every politician is exactly the same. I taught my daughter to look for people that show empathy in that realm and not to idolize people like sports stars, rock stars, politicians. I didn't rely on the fact that the president of the country is supposed to be empathetic, even though they lie, cheat, steal, and murder, and have for our entire life, and probably the entire life of this country.
Yeah, so every politician is not evil, sir. Just go ahead and start with Abraham Lincoln, who after the Whig Party went ahead and deceived Congress to pass the 13th Amendment, take a blot on his presidential legacy. Pretty upstanding sounding gentleman. Yeah.
I'll give you that he's better than most. Sure.
Yeah, but he believed in the separation of the races, even though he did the emancipation. He did not believe in equality.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So, I don't really think that's a viable argument. I think that's what is it, anecdotal. Given what his presidential legacy reflects, you, ma'am, would be discredited.
No, I'm not discredited. He did say it in writings, what he felt about Negroes, as he would say in parentheses at that time, right?
Ma'am.
No, I'm not. I'm a reader.
She's absolutely right.
He did
she is absolutely right on this one.
She's not wrong.
So, Jesus Christ. See, some of y'all can't be written in the book of life. But anyway, so at that period of time, what's considered a cultural norm that's not taboo. We're not talking about something that was anywhere near a present tense societal measure of what it would be now seen as. That was the fucking cultural norm. Jesus Christ, he blotted his presidential legacy to free what were still considered 3/5 of fucking humans. I don't give a fuck what he wrote. His actions have the merit. And personally, if you look at the history and the numbers of slavery, the foundational blacks, most of us are very convoluted, claiming African shit that does not pertain to us at fucking all. The Bible reiterates this. Our numbers that were affected are extremely low. Extremely much lower than what they've been taught to you and personified as in fucking school.
If you read the history books, though, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was about the preservation of the Union.
Well, my point was that all politicians ain't evil. And this nation, the liberties we have, we enjoy. The reason why, there's a fuck ton of us from all different walks of life that all want to be here and are grateful to be here is because of those men and the ideals that they had.
It was also about the expansion of the Union.
I mean, those are nuances that are, attached to this great vision.
Just don't be so content with it. I think that's if I were to give you any constructive criticism, I know you didn't ask for it, and I know you definitely won't likely consider it or care what I have to say. But it's frustrating when so many people don't think that there's better ways that things could be done, and that we could have better solutions, we could have more peaceful solutions versus constant violent back force always. If we were, and if you believe in all of the things that you're saying about this nation, you understand that it's been an evolution from the very first document, from the Declaration of Independence. Okay, that was a set of principles that superseded the ideals of the time, the practicality of that time, and abolitionists, women's rights. We look to that to continue to push for the principles that all human beings are created equal with unalienable rights by their creator,
and the pursuit of
life, liberty, and happiness. Right. And so what I would invite everybody to do is not be content. Know that likely there's a lot of things that we're doing wrong today that we're going to, in 25 and 50 years, we're going to look back at 100 years and say, wow, right? The next generations are going to say, what were they doing? What was grandpa doing? Well, all that they just sat back and let that happen. Like, that's incredible, because we're going to be at hopefully such better places. Keep pushing for better options, for more reasonable options. We have to stop the tribalism and stop looking at everybody as our enemies. Like, if you want to categorize somebody as your enemy immediately, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, because you're not being honest with yourself. Because you're saying that our neighbors here, culturally, we actually want to harm each other. And we know that that's not true. We know that we all are human beings. We get up, we have our little issues, we got our health concerns, we got our family, we got the kids, we got the career. We just want to live, love for the short little time that we have, praise God, take our gifts, and continue just like everybody else. So how can we maximize that for everybody and not cause harm? And just coming out and, oh, shouldn't have protest. So look, there's so much division. Where can you? What I would ask you to do, if you were to make a claim about anything, learn to falsify your claims. Like, create null hypotheses instead of statements, and then sit with that and present it to a room so you don't get yourself in an echo chamber.
Bima, that's literally the definition of having a gynocentric outlook. That's not the reality of the country, of our poise and magnitude and sphere of influence. I'm willing to die on this following fucking hill that this is all partially fucking laden in that pure, putrid hatred for the reemergence of definitive, lawful, order following, statute imputing, white, Christian, straight, staunch masculinity coming back. The return law and order. I swear to God, this is partially laden in that shit. Years ago, when Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice were trotting around, y'all didn't have, there weren't this many hyper-focused fucking geopolitical overnight wizards. Now everybody's fucking got a fucking digestible take on how the Trump administration is making 45 fucking mistakes from Monday. You know? Fuck that. I'm dying on this hill. I might sound crazy, but fuck that.
I don't know why you keep saying gynocentric. Like, you don't think that, like, logic is
everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves a chance. That's not the reality, man.
So hold on. We're not talking about reality. We understand how oppressive and tyrannical and authoritarian people and human beings can be, right? Especially people that even in a conversation and are exposed to the idea and a reflection with a mirror shock. Hey, look, you're being a little. Look, you're contradicting your own statements. Okay,
ma'am, you understand in real time there are conglomerates that hate each other's guts, but to oppose us will work together. We're facing almost destabilization of our fucking dollar. Saudi Arabians didn't renew that contract that fucking fuck, his name escapes me. What was his name? It wasn't Carter. that they do their business deals in the dollar, the reserve contract.
The petrodollar.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. They didn't renew that. Like, I mean, you're talking as if we have the luxuries and liberties of like the fucking, 80s or 90s, or or maybe the economy was just a little bit more forgiving and things were nicer. So there weren't certain things looming on the horizon here. And I'm not even talking from the perspective of considering Iran imminent, which I don't. I don't think it's imminent. I think it's retarded that we even. No, we're not. There's no way we're going to war. It's too much mutually assured destruction in too many facets. But anyway.
But isn't that the point? I'm just going back to what Peter Thiel, who's the money man behind all of these people, and which is why I think this shit is evil, is because Peter Thiel's philosophy, who funded J.D. Vance and one of the biggest donors behind Trump, he has a very different philosophy that he doesn't believe in competition. He believes in power. And power is his ultimate goal because he doesn't believe in sharing. There's a philosophy that he's behind. This is not speculation. You got to read his mimic theory, right? He believes that everybody wants to be great, and he believes that everybody wants to mimic. And you can Google mimic theory by there was a French philosopher that Peter Thiel follows. I think René Girard is his name. But one of the things that he believes is that power is not something that can be shared, but it's by differentiation. And those who have the power make the rules. And that's why the billionaire class, or you can call it the Epstein class, whatever you want to call it, they're the ones that are allowing for the destabilization, because the key piece is the more destable it gets, the more power they're able to grab because they have their assets and their money and different resources than where we have it.
That's a good, concise take. I give you that. By the way, I want to apologize. I wasn't trying to overtalk you and Jay. I feel like I was kind of overhogging the mic, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of let someone type it. That was a good take, though, Ms. Vila. Very concisely said, too. I like that.
But I still believe in hope and love, right? I'm like Bima. I have this internal optimism. But as I look at the reality of the money, and even if you read the Epstein files and their intent to create destabilization in regions, when regions are destable, it's up for grabs for whatever money goes in there. So like Venezuela, it wasn't the small companies or little business people that went in there. It was the big money people that went in there so that they can go ahead and export. And that's why I look at the money. As much as people may advocate for Trump, I'm not against one side or the other. I don't have derangement syndrome. I have a class issue. Maybe that's my concern. And when the access begins to become very difficult for average citizens that are not in the 1%, and I say average citizens because that can range, then we're no longer allowed to play. We're not going to be part of the game.
It's another good, concise take, man. You got some good takes. I like that. Very, very, very prompt and astutely delivered.
Agreed.
Poise, too. I give you that, too. I say you got poise.
Unlike some gynocentric views,
Yeah. Mike is on you, Ives.
Sorry, did I miss something?
We're waiting for your logical mic that you have, Ice. You seem to have a balanced opinion on many things.
I didn't hear the very last couple things you guys were talking about. I was in the chat chatting, so I apologize. I wasn't really focused. So
I guess it goes back to the theme of the room. Maybe Trump is evil. Changed my mind.
Yeah, I don't think he's evil. I just think he's brash. I think he's, he uses the same tactics and they work. I mean, after Davos, you had two political leaders who do not like Trump, openly stated they're not fans of his, but they said that they needed Trump to do this because Europe doesn't want America's fingers meddling in their business, but yet we want them to pay the bill. And it's time that Europe stands on its own 2 feet. Two separate leaders said that. And I was like, finally, this is all Trump wanted. He wanted them to start, hey, we can't carry the heavy load for everybody, for all over the world. And then you're like, wait, you guys aren't the world police. You want us to be. You want us to be the world's, uncle handing out the money. So, for me, I think there's the brashness of which he's always done things, and he comes out and says wild things, but in reality, he knows I'm only going to get part of that. But if I start really freaking crazy, they think they're winning, So I think that's what he does, and he's not a great speaker, so he just kind of goes with some snide-ass stuff, and that's where he is. So do I think he's evil? No. I mean, I think he showed some compassion with some things he's done with other families. If you watched the speech today, this man is paying for a woman that nobody even knows to have cataract surgery that was there. This guy does compassionate things. But he doesn't want people to know he's got a soft side. He wants to be this big tough guy, which I think is dumb. I think it's good to show the soft side once in a while. But it's Trump. That's just who he is. So, I mean, he's a brash asshole. I think sometimes it's funny when he comes up with the nicknames. Other times it's completely inappropriate. It's just like, dude, just stop. So do I think he's evil? Absolutely not. He's got all the money he would ever needed. He really thought it would be easier to I can clean this up. I know it's broke because he was part of it. He's admitted that. Yeah, I know exactly what the loopholes are. We need to close them, That's finally something that was said. Name another politician that has said that. We need that. But the problem is we've talked about this earlier in the room. The corruption is so deep. You have people coming in, and if they're broke, and in a few years, they're worth $8 million. You got one who started a wine company who's only made one bottle of wine that's called Devil's Lies, which you can't even buy, and it's worth $15 million or whatever. It's like, this is what's happening. These guys, yeah. And then the other one was worth $8 million, and they asked her, you were in the negative when you got here. Can you tell us how you're worth $8 million now? And she refused to respond. She just kept walking. And I was just like, and this is on both sides. There's a lot of wealth that's being generated. And I just want to say, Martha Stewart's poor ass, she just got, okay, you can call it insider trading, but somebody says, yo, shit's about to dump. Wouldn't all of us then say, fuck, I got to save myself? Well, look what the Pelosi's did. Bought a bunch of NVIDIA before they pulled the deal off for the government. Then, after they got a whole shitload of hell about it, they held on to it for a long time. But then all of a sudden, just before they're like, okay, fine, we'll make you happy, they sell theirs. And a few weeks later, NVIDIA tanks. Don't think that they had some inside information because there were some things that happened with the contracts with the government. You don't think they knew. We let politicians get away with it on both sides. And in my opinion, every single person starts gaining net wealth. We need to be looking at, why did you bet? I don't think a single politician should be allowed to invest. Their close immediate family and people in their extended family should not be allowed to be investing in anything that they are voting on or passing legislation on, passing bills that might be giving contracts out. Nope. Because guess what? I'm going to call up my friend Ravella. I don't know how you say her name. I hope I get it right. But hey, here's the deal. I can't do this, but if you put in $200,000 in Lockheed Martin, it'll be worth $2 million in 12 months. We can't have that happen. It's time we put our foot down.
They do have laws against that, but the problem is that it's difficult to track. Like, you can't tell who knows what, when, where, why, and how, unless you track every phone call, everything that every person knows, and every person knows.
Actually, Shai, that has changed. The foreign corrupt practices and the corruption offices in the current administration have now closed down. People have stepped that down, and there's no enforcement. The FCPA or any type of corruption is right now being squashed. at DOJ. That is a fact. You can research it.
No, all right, that's fine. But the point is, people act like what all the things that happened under Trump in the past like one year have been happening for like the entirety of America. And that's not the entirety of America. That's like a small glimpse in American history, right? It's a blip on the map of American history, and things can go back. This is like I don't care that certain things changed recently. I care that of what the overall character of the state has been over time. And it's not being people really need to stop doing that. It's like, oh, Trump became God.
I never said that. I just said the current state of the corruption law.
Yeah, the current state. That's the current state. Things
yeah,
change,
but
things
the laws on
it wasn't happening. There's always corruption in every system, right? Because systems are systems are made by men, and the issue with is that what people
men and not women, of course.
Some women make some systems, but also the reality of it is the aspect of the corruption happens through the fact that people look at the system, they try to figure out how to game the system, and they perfect a gaming of the system, which allows them to benefit where other people have not found this gaming of the system.
Right.
You're interesting. I find it.
Hold on. So I just want to bounce off what he just said. So, and what you just said. So it's been changed, right? But has anything stopped or was anything prevented before that? No. We know for a fact, if you look in the past 10, if you follow for the last 10, 15 years compared to 20, 25 years ago, and you see this steady climb, it's still beating hedge funds. But if you look over the last 10 years, 12 years, holy hell, it's a skyrocket. So what was in place didn't work. And if you don't shut it down, just like the education system, we're spending more money than anybody per child. Why aren't we going to the places that are leading and saying, what are you doing different? Let's do it that way. That's how you make changes. I'm sorry, but the federal government blew up and it wasn't getting better. Things become bogged down. I think it was Mark Cuban who said, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but I think he was like, you got a dollar coin, and this is Cuban, who's a Democrat. He says, you give the Democrats this dollar coin, tell them they got to sell it for 50 cents. It's going to take them 6 months or whatever he said to get a committee together to figure out how they're going to sell it for 50 cents. He goes, then you give it to Donald Trump and say sell it for $2, and he just sells it, And what he's saying is the system is bogged down. When you get more people in all the time, everything just keeps growing. Government doesn't have to grow. Government doesn't always have to create laws. Government doesn't have to keep the laws on the books. The things that are killing us is all the red tape. They asked every Fortune 500 company that left, why did you leave? Taxes, number one. Number two, regulations. Two things that we keep wanting to force on them. But the beauty of it is they go to a country that has no regulations, no emissions, but we're still going to buy their stuff there. In America, you got to be clean, but we'll buy it if you go over to China and do it. And
but people in China,
we're completely still buying
people in China are wearing face masks because of the amount of smog and pollution that they have in their cities. Right? Yeah. If you go into like Chicago or a main city, developed city in America, you don't have to wear a face mask to cover your face from all the local pollution. I mean, there was one point you had to, right? In like Los Angeles, or you probably should be in Los Angeles and probably New York and places like that. But because of regulations, people don't have to do that. A lot of it is about also caring about the environment. The government has a stake in the environment and the preservation of the environment. That's why they have certain laws regarding that. As far as school goes, the American child, right? You can go somewhere in Bumfuck, Alabama or Oklahoma, and you will see that they have a better or higher standard of living than most people in other countries, most children in other countries, right? Including China, including Russia, including Saudi Arabia, maybe not Saudi Arabia, but they're also working on a different reality. But that's the reality of America. America has a vested interest in maintaining certain standards for certain people for all of its citizens, actually.
Well, that was a point, but again, I disagree. I only because I'm looking at the evolution of our. Like you said, I agree. Maybe we'll go back, but full transparency, we are decentralizing, and I'm okay with decentralization. I'm not a federalist in any way, but you're decentralizing the standards of education. And I agree with you, Ice, when you were speaking about Trump coming in and didn't want to foot the bill for the EU. But when you create an environment of animosity and you create an environment of tariffs, because the tariffs in the reality are a taxation against the citizens. It is not paid by the importer, or well, it's paid by the importer, but not the seller in the other country. They are paid by the citizens of this country. And so what happens is that when you begin to blow up the rules-based system that we had, where we all agree, and that's the same standard that we have in the United States. We have a constitution that we agreed to go by. We have a checks and balance of the system. When you begin to challenge the checks and balance, whether it's the rule base of internal government or external government, you begin to shake the foundation, and there is no it becomes an us against them type of world. So what happens when we, of course, we're competitive and we were the best in the world, but we're not anymore. Let's just be full transparent. We're not producing the best cars. And the partnerships that are developing based on current paradigms, people are creating relationships and trade relationships that are going to exclude U.S. What happens? You think that we want people to go and do their own thing, but when they don't buy from us, what are you going to do? Threaten them with high tariffs or bonds? They will choose to go to other people. The reality is America's not understanding, and I'm an American and I love my passport, but I'm looking to go everywhere. But I'm seeing the reality as a person who sees this country and loves the country, but really concerned about the direction it's going in, whether it's this administration or the ones before. When you begin to isolate yourself and you believe to rely on isolationism, and you remove the competition where we become the best and the brightest in the world, and you begin to put international students and you ban immigrant. It's not just the bad immigrations. The students are not wanting to come to this country. They're going to Canada. They're going to all the other countries. The key piece to the innovation that I believe is the education that we had from many from people coming in and pouring into our educational systems too. That we are now, we've never been number one, really, to be very transparent. We're like number 25 or even 40 on the educational list. And now the products that we have, we don't produce our own, but we can't produce everything. We're not going to go back to mercantilism because we begin to produce everything. We don't even have enough expertise in our own people to produce everything we want to do. So we'll go ahead and buy the semiconductor chips from Taiwan because that's the way the infrastructure does. And we try to manufacture t-shirts. Maybe let's bring that back here. But the competitive stuff, we're losing. And when we're looking at rare earths being produced, and it's not that China produces it, they just learned how to refine rare earth minerals very good. We haven't decided to invest in that technology here in the United States. But instead, we decide to go into Venezuela and hope that they got rare earths. But we make policies against countries that may have rare earths, but because of other issues, so we got to look at what direction we're moving in, and perhaps become a little bit mindful on these relationships that we don't bump.
So there's something to that, but I think that the federal government in every country, right, has to think about the relationships that it has with other countries on all levels, right? So they're multifaceted issues with every country, and America, like every other country, has to make those types of decisions because countries don't work, like you said, in isolation. So the isolationists are wrong because everybody else in the world, like their economies are interwoven with one another, and they will continue continually interwoven with one another, because no single country has everything that they need. So they have to borrow from this place and use this place to do some manufacturing and do some other stuff right here and there. As far as education goes, America's education issue is more so is individualistic. And if you look at the education system,
is it individualistic?
I'm sorry.
I don't think we're individualistic. We have a standard.
No. The American educational system, compared to many other countries, is very individualistic.
No, we don't have a global standard. That means, but we do. It's not.
Excuse me. There is a mandatory K through 12 education, right? Which means you have to educate your child, but you can educate your child at home. You have to make sure that they meet certain criteria as far as reading and writing and arithmetic, those types of things, right? And that's foundation that's given to you by the state to ensure that you are educating your child. That is something that's mandatory. But you have vocational schools, you have various other facets of schools.
You have that in other countries too.
Very, very seldomly.
No, Germany, you have it. You have the Realschule, you have the Hochschule, and then you have the university. You have the same thing in France. You have the traditional Bac, you have the baccalaureate, you have the Bac. You have different countries. In Japan, you have the same thing. A levels, O levels. It's different.
We're talking about these top schools or countries of schools, right? That you're talking about, which include Russia and China, which I was speaking about specifically, not Western Europe.
No, I said Japan and Singapore. They have O levels, A levels equivalent. So they're just as competitive. The standards about math. Let me just be full. We're very weak and sad at math. We don't even know our geography.
I agree with you, and yet people from all of these other high-level countries are going to American universities.
No, they're not anymore. They're going to Canada.
They only have it in the past.
They're not coming here anymore.
But you're talking about in the past couple of years. I'm not talking about in the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah, but there's a trend to shift.
What those people did was they went to America, sent their kids to America, learned how the systems worked better, and then imported them into their countries. That's what happened. They learned from what America was doing. They copied it, and actually, in some of those countries, they actually have satellite campuses for the top universities in America, so that they can still teach their kids.
But here's the funny part: they weren't American citizens that came here, though. See, if we were so good, we would be producing our own talent to that great level, right?
I'm not disagreeing.
And exporting our talent to other countries. So what I'm just saying.
Hold on.
You didn't even allow me to finish my point. You just wanted excuse me. I wanted to finish my point. The fact is, if you ever look at Chinese or Russian education systems, which are the highest in math,
yes, знаю. Я говорю по-русски тоже. Yeah, I understand the Russian system very well.
Give me a second, ma'am. Give me a second to let me finish. That you will see that their schools are hardcore factories, right? Their schools are hardcore factories. A fifth grader is doing high school level math and science in Russia and China that would, compared to a fifth grader in America. I mean, it's astronomically different, right? Those levels of math and the amount of homework that they get per night is astronomically different. Kids are going to school from 7 in the morning until 7 at night, and then have 3 to 4 hours of homework at night. They're doing college level homework, and they're being pushed into that direction very early in their lives, and that's across the board. And not everybody can handle it. And until recently, China had a very high level of suicide rate amongst its students. It's changed over the past decade or so, but it was extremely.
China and India actually are the top at sending students out. They all come to America. There was over 600,000 of them, I think, they sent one year, just to give you an idea. So America's schools are still highly considered at the tops. I mean, when they send over, I think, 1 million, I think it is, globally, but America is the number one source for those. Those kids still come here and excel. There's a reason. There's the way that they've been raised to understand the education system, to respect the education system, to respect the education itself. Number one. Number two, to say that we're not a manufacturing superpower, you'd have to explain to me then how.
I never said we're not manufacturing.
Well, you said we can't be.
But we're not producing like we used to.
Well,
be very transparent. Our cars.
Hold on. When we talk about cars, that's where I'm going. you would have to explain to me how Germany, considered one of the best car makers in the world, has got Mercedes and BMW here. And actually, if you want to know the truth, BMW America is by far the largest manufacturing facility in the world.
You know why? Because
and
we have.
Hold on.
But it's because of imports, though.
Let me finish.
I'm in import and export.
Yeah,
it's because of the imports.
A fuck ton of them. Okay, we export everything that's produced here. And you know what? We now in America, BMW America makes the chips for the BMWs, and
because we're consumers.
BMW.
U.S. is the biggest consumer.
Do you know we export a fuck ton of BMWs?
Yes, but okay, what's the country of origin? What's the country of origin, though? What's the country of origin on the goods? Because it's not all U.S. Because what you have to understand is we do a lot of the assembly. We manufacture. We're not doing all the finished parts here.
What Bavarian Motors Works facility by March 1 year broke the record in the history of the company for the most sold pre-sold BMWs.
That's an exception, though.
No, it's not an exception. It's been happening every year since. Okay, so what's
true? But I'm saying the BMW line of importing.
I let you roll.
Okay.
BMW is now talking about having their transmissions made in America. So to say that we can't be leaders in the auto industry, you have to explain to me why BMW is so huge and saying we can do this here and we can now put the transmissions, have them made there. And you know what? Now I'm going to go a little bit further. Okay? They're proving that it works. They literally have tests to be able to apply. That's how many people they got wanting to work for them. Okay, so people will line up to build cars, and they make money, clearly. But we want to talk about tariffs. What are tariffs? We heard the Supreme Court say it. They're taxes.
Yeah.
Right? And in math class, we're terrible. America's terrible at math. But if I put a 1, an equal sign, and a 1, I can interchange those, right? I can't put a 1 and a 2, but I can put 1 equals 1. And if taxes are tariffs, or if tariffs are taxes, then guess what? Taxes are tariffs. And we're okay tariffing a country in our own country to produce. We'll tariff our own country. Where does the taxes and the tariffs, who pays those? Oh, us as the consumer. It's a cost of building the products, right? So we're okay tariffing an American company, building in America, but we don't want to, we're going to take Apple, for instance. We will go ahead and let Apple leave because the taxes get too high. And they had a profit of $252 billion, of which zero was taxed. Now, they did a study on Greenville, South Carolina. If every person there spent $20 a week at a local mom and pop shop, okay, what is it, 60,000 people, Greenville, something like that, but they spend $20 a week at a mom and pop shop, a little cafe, the local hardware stores. They determined that it would bring an extra $300 million into the local economy because of the way it recirculates. That's just the people spending $20 a week. What do you think $252 billion recirculating in the U.S. economy, what would that equate to? So we let them
It's not the same.
It is the same.
No, it isn't the same. Tariffs are a blanket. It's a blanket on a product. Now, taxation, the taxation of a corporation, when they do and build the facility, it's a different taxation of sales, generation of sales. It's not tariffs.
When they sell the product.
Yeah, but when they sell the products, the sales of products of what's sold at Apple, they're sold.
We're going to sell a hairdryer.
Yeah, when you're selling that, that's sold. That's sales tax.
Just stop.
That's sales tax within a region. So a state will have a sales tax. A city will have a sales tax. Every time I buy an Apple phone, it has a sales tax.
If the Fed raises the taxes, who the fuck pays it? Do you think
you're seeing it differently? The feds will raise.
I'm saying it very clearly.
No, actually, you're seeing the taxes difference.
Okay, hold on.
No, because tariffs and taxes, there are taxes on people, but they're applied in different ways. The importer pays the taxes on goods that come in, and that importer passes its cost on to the citizens, and that can be anywhere in the states. Right? Anywhere. Whereas sales, when you're talking about Apple producing $200 billion worth of and not paying taxes, profit. Yes, because they incorporated themselves. First of all, they're incorporated, I think, in Delaware. But when they do their sales structure of what was going inside and how they structure it, they probably got a sales entity in the EU, which captures most of their international sales.
Where you missed is you didn't listen to everything I said. Their overseas profit was $252 billion.
That's the point. Yeah, Okay, and that's the difference.
Hold on.
Every country, every company.
Simple back and forth. You've never let me even finish, so this will be a simple back and forth. So I'm okay doing that with you. $252 billion. Let's just say that American companies, they don't pay a fair share. What's their fair share? Do you know what they pay? What would Apple pay on taxes? What would their tax share burden be on $252 billion in profits?
You're still missing the point because
No,
the tariffs.
you're missing my point.
No, because they're going to have to have an incorporation outside.
Completely.
You're
doing it on purpose.
No, I'm not doing it on purpose because I don't think you're seeing. No, taxes and tariffs are two different. They're still taxes, but they're not applied the same way.
The Supreme Court said they are.
They didn't say they're applied the same way. I said taxes are tariffs, but they roll down to the consumer. Taxes of a company. Taxes on the company is taxes on the company. Yep. Tariffs are taxes on the citizens and the consumers of that company. Of that country.
Big difference. And Apple is incorporated in California, so there's a lot of misinformation going on.
Yes, but they're incorporated. You can have an incorporation, but their legal entity, I believe, has the Delaware courts because of the tax structure in the United States. You can break it down. A lot of companies in Silicon Valley.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Our taxes cost of doing business. Bottom line.
Yes.
Thank you. That's my point. And when I have a business and I look at that, I look at my profits and I said, shit, I got to pay more taxes. Guess what I do to my prices? All my buildings, every single one of them goes up. Why? I'm not eating it.
Maybe not. That depends on market forces. Can you raise your price and still sell your product?
Everybody is.
The point to her long rambling thing that she completely failed on is the fact that the tariffs have brought in $5 trillion in jobs and infrastructure, manufacturing, $500 billion.
Where? Give me your evidence. Give me your evidence. Give me your evidence.
Don't interrupt me. Let me
I'm just asking for the evidence. You're spilling facts.
Do you have impulse control? Because you
maybe I do. But I just need, when you're spilling stuff, give me facts.
Hold on, do you know that we literally had companies?
Do you understand how to let somebody finish talking?
We literally had nations. I'm sorry. We had nations leaders standing next. The fucking leader of the nations standing next to Trump, saying, "We're pledging to do this, building a steel manufacturing plant in the United States." And you know what? Oh, that might be expedited because guess what? A steel plant closed in the United States, which means instead of going somewhere else, they might be able to buy that one and start sooner. Oh, so it might not be 5. It might not be.
He's claiming 20 of the pledges. It's $5 trillion deals signed, including $500 billion for TMC to come over here and make chips in the state of Arizona. Look it up. I don't have to provide my receipts. Go look it up.
Yeah, I know TMC. It's in Arizona. That I'm familiar with. Full disclosure, I work for Google, but I'm a professor in the daytime too. So you can look at me. So I know that.
Well, you're jumping all over me going, prove it. I'm telling you the facts. $5 trillion in deals came out of Trump floating these tariffs and causing American jobs to be created. A tariff is not a tax. The Supreme Court did not rule it a tax, and I can prove they didn't rule it a tax. And if Abby's still in the room, I bet you she'll back me up on the law of the ruling, just like she backed me up the last time we had a conversation.
Not really. She didn't back you up the ruling, but
she completely backed me.
No, she didn't.
But anyway,
go ahead.
They didn't rule that a tax is a tariff. The tariff is not directly a tax to the American citizen in every
I said to the consumers
case. It's not. If the market forces can get the raised price, they're going to raise the price and pass it on. If they can't, they won't. It's not happening across the board.
And right now, with the economy struggling, because it's struggling more than people believe it is, and it has been for years now.
By what measure?
What's that?
By what measure?
When we just look at the spending, when we look at what the GDP is, when we look at housing.
GDP is up. It was up to 4 something. They're predicting the Atlanta Fed says it's going to go 5, maybe 6.
Right.
Okay.
It's been
wages are up 4.4.
Year.
Wages are up 4.4.
right?
The CPI is down. It was 2.7 at the end of the quarter. It's dropped to, I think it's 2.4 right now. Unemployment's a bit higher. It dipped very, very minor. But by what measure are you saying the economy's messed up?
Okay, let's go to the decline, because I'm going to go back to the manufacturer decline. Yes, we declined in 2025 and 2026 at the very beginning. So from let's do the whole year. The prior year, 2025, job losses were between April 2025 and December 2025. All the way to that time, we lost about 72,000 to 108,000 108,000 jobs, right? So there's a stagnant job growth too. So you can't say they created jobs, because when the economy is slightly declining, you're not creating jobs. That's why you have the market. That is why you have the market that you do have, because the tariffs also create a strain and availability of cash by the companies that were paying the tariffs, at which they also limit the hiring and the goods from coming into the country. You had small businesses, as in the woman who was working there are several people who are working on Etsy that had small businesses, and we know that small businesses are the blood of this country, where they had to pay the increased amount on the tariffs. One example was, what was it called, rose gold, that this woman was making goods on Etsy. You can look up that little piece and case. She had a problem because the tariffs increased about 40%. We're not talking about the 15% that's part of the IEEPA tariffs that were now considered illegal, right? It was the blanket tariffs that were put in place, and she had to close down the doors. A lot of small business, because the profit margin was so slim, that they had to consider either laying off people or close their doors. And that is the reason why there was there was a decrease in some of the job losses, right?
Okay, so you said that manufacturing is down. It's up 0.64% year over year. I think it's 2.4. So
look at the manufacturing decline in 2025.
Yeah, okay, you said 2026 is down, but 2026 it's up 0.6 already. I just actually looked that up. But what I will tell you is this: manufacturing. Everybody thinks big manufacturers. Do you know what percentage of manufacturers are over 100 employees? Like less than 17%. 93%, I think, are under. No, 70% are under 20 employees, and 93% of those provide health insurance. So manufacturing isn't these huge conglomerates like Apple that we need to bring back. Nails for homes. There was only one manufacturer 10 years ago. I don't even know where my nails come from now. Guess what? We can bring those jobs back, and they can be profitable. There's manufacturers all over this country doing it still and making great money. I can tell you, I run a manufacturing company. We do engineer wall fucking panels, roof panels, ag buildings, commercial buildings, homes. We do it all. Okay? And what I'm telling you is, now, there's a decline. Now, I'll tell you this.
That's not true. The numbers on manufacturing just came out, and they're up. I don't remember the exact percentage.
Come on. Yeah, but they're not sustained. That was just based on January, and not even February's over yet. We're talking about the entire 2005. And your numbers, you've got to look at what's available, because there was a government shutdown and the numbers were not being produced. But okay, nevertheless, when we're talking about manufacturing, you're looking at chemicals, food and beverage, and tobacco, and you have a small number that do computer and electronics, which is about 6%.
And we are up 2.4% year over year.
Yeah, but they hit 6.6. Is that what Trump numbers told you?
No.
Okay.
You go look them up, please.
Okay, whatever.
Oh, okay, whatever. Now, here's what I'm going to slap the living shit out of somebody out there. I know, because we heard for 4 fucking years we had record growth. No shit, dumbass. We fucking shut the country down. But good God, let's let the Democrats get on TV and say,
I'm not taking
so many fucking new jobs this month. Well, fucking let me shut the bitch down. I'll shut this fucking country down, and then every motherfucking day I'll set a new record when I open it. For fuck's sakes, it's not hard to say all these things that they've been saying for fucking 4 years, and then they say, well, he's riding our coattails. When something bad goes wrong, it's fucking Trump's fault. When it's good, it's the fucking last guy's fault. And let's be real. Whose fucking fault is it that we got 22% inflation in 4 fucking years? You just took fucking 22 cents out of every dollar somebody makes and fucking pulled it out of their paycheck. I hope you like it. Guess what? There ain't nothing about that economy that was good, but they told us it was. They told us the inflation was transitory. The fucking left economists, the left-leaning economists said, guess what? Inflation's going to be way up here this quarter.
So I guess we both can agree that the numbers are not good from either side.
We have to admit we were wrong. We didn't expect this. We didn't see it coming. You had the Fed not lower interest rates, and part of the fucking chair, the board, wrote a dissent about it, saying we should be lowering it. But now Powell didn't want to do it. Why? Fuck it, it's anti-Trump. We all know that. He's pushing that motherfucker hard to lower rates. Lower rates and see what happens. Because guess what? I love it when somebody says, well, when I bought a house back in this year, we paid 14%. Yeah, the house you bought was $62,000. Why don't you go see what it is at 6% when you're spending $500,000? Totally different fucking category. And this is why people are totally off. You can look at all the numbers back then when it was 2 and 3% for freaking mortgage. House sales are going to fly. This is why prices went through the roof. Prices over doubled. On the water down here went from $1 million for a very nice lot to $1.25 million to now it's over 2.5 for any lot. And you got to tear the house down because it needs to be tore down. That's over double. On the Intracoastal, $5 million plus. This is what happens when you do things. And I thought it was bullshit. You should not have lowered the interest rates that low. There's a lot of things done throughout all of that. The $3 trillion stimulus package we had totally destroyed us. We were at 3.8 or 3.9 trillion, I believe it was, before COVID. They added $3 trillion, and we're actually above that number. We never lost that $3 trillion. It's not coming back down. They're just finding new ways to spend it because America knows we're already up to 6.8. Let's go to 7. And it's going there. This is what's happening. We got a government that's just sitting there spending money. And guess what? We want to blame inflation on the president? No.
After
this
1 year.
The people run.
1 year.
What's that?
I'm not blaming, and I'm not blaming one-on-one
Like you go to McDonald's and they hand you a meal. We're sitting down at a dinner. It takes time to get the meal delivered.
Hey, I'm not blaming just one year. Trump had a prior administration too. Nevertheless, let me correct real quick. Yes, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Netflix are all Delaware corps. And so what I'm trying to say is that most of the businesses are going to be Delaware corps. Why? Is because that's a corp, that's a state that doesn't evolve or pay where you have to deal with taxes, right? That was one of just like Nevada, just like Texas. It's either a choice between those few states. So I stand corrected on Apple, but I know that all my other tech companies and a lot of major manufacturing companies are Delaware corps.
Correct.
Now let me stand corrected too, and you need to correct yourself too. Manufacturing. Let to be very clear. Yes, 70% we got manufacturers, but you know what they are? You got 12% that are chemical. You have 11% that are food and beverage and tobacco. Of course we're going to have tobacco. What? We created the cigarettes and the little vape pens, right? No problem. You got maybe 6% of all our manufacturing. You throw in TMSC, do you throw them in there? Yes, but we only have 6% of the global semiconductors, communication, and the medical devices, right? Transportation equipment. And that includes automobiles, aircrafts, Boeing. Yes, we have Boeing, but Airbus is in France, but we only do 6%. Now you have the coming competition of electronic cars coming up where we got to compete with probably BYD that's going all over the world that has stifled the competition of Tesla. But, Tesla's not the only electronic cars, but it was one of the ones that were breaking grounds, and now we're only manufacturing of all this what we're doing internationally and globally, 6% of all of transportation equipment, and then fabricated metal products. Let's just be real. I'm giving you a percentage. I'm not talking blankage. I'm talking machine shops, forged metals, because we had a lot of our steel industry that had suffered from truly, and I'll definitely cite on this, where the tariffs, where we had countervailance, where people were dumping bad steel in our country, right? So I understand that. You had to deal with countervailance, which are taxes to avoid to deal with people that were dumping, anti-dumping laws, right? So the manufacturing that you're talking about is very limited in scope, where you're looking at chemical, food and beverage, computers, 6%, cars, 6%, fabricated metals, 6%. That's still not enough. But with the reason why there's a trade imbalance and a deficit is because the U.S. is mostly consumers, and we don't manufacture. We buy.
And you're making the point for why Trump's tariffs are good.
No,
because
actually,
what
they're
else
not
is going
good.
to bring that
We're
back?
not
If
good.
it's going
Because
to
if
bring
we're
it back,
consumers,
then how do
if
we
the
bring
majority
more
of our country is
manufacturing back?
consumers,
Then
we're not
how do we
good.
bring more of it back?
No,
This
you're
is
not
the
going to make it
one
more back
tool
because
that
nobody
any
wants to
president
pay.
has ever tried to since NAFTA. It is the one tool that one president since NAFTA has tried to do. Everything you just said is the case for why we should try the tariffs and see if they work.
No,
and
nobody wants to pay $4,000 for a cell phone.
to see if we can equal the trade balance.
No,
Try everything
you're going back to mercantilism. Do you know what mercantilism is? Do you know what mercantilism is? We're going back to mercantilism. Do you know what that is?
I know America's number 4 in steel production, and you made it sound like we weren't building anything, but it's 53.
I said fabricated metals.
I said, yeah, and that's 4%.
Okay, so what's your solution?
Sorry,
you're
what I'm saying is,
what's your solution? What's your
I don't
solution?
think tariffs is the solution.
Then
I don't think tariffs is the solution.
What's your solution?
Yeah,
if you don't have a solution, sit down and shut up and
I do have a solution. I believe in free trade agreements where there's a balanced trade where we agree to import certain amount of trade and a balance of having our farmers and other people exchange whatever trade that they have in return.
And that's what
we
the
have
tariffs
a
are
limit
doing.
on
That's
our imports.
the
You didn't let me finish. I thought you said I had to shut up. I'm not shutting up yet. You got it? Because I had a solution. All right then. So, the free trade agreement, where you have an agreement of what certain industries, depending on what our needs are based on the country, that we have a free trade agreement to go in and out. A blanket tariffs on country that I dislike just because I don't like your policy, which we call economic statecraft, right? You're using policies and money to get the things you need is not the solution. You've got to look at the needs of your citizens and the industry. A blanket tariff only hurts our citizens.
And how do you get them to agree if you don't have leverage over them?
We're the world's largest consuming market.
Yes,
no, then you don't do a free trade agreement.
How come no president has been able to do it? And why do you want to take away leverage?
I think everything's possible. Yeah,
don't you want to negotiate the best deal possible with the most amount of leverage you have to get the best deal possible for your citizens?
No,
you want to take away that leverage.
Because another country will do a tariff against you. And then that means our farmers can't get their shit into their country. No. Go ahead.
I don't know what you want me to say.
No, I thought I heard someone speaking.
You want to take away the leverage. It should be targeted. You're right on some level, but you want to take away the best leverage that we possibly have, and you want to cite the things we have to suffer. I, for one, will pay the extra $1,200. I'll pay $12,000 extra per year to pay for the tariffs that it causes the consumers to pay more if it fixes the problem. And if you're not willing to, then fuck you. You're not a good American citizen because
you don't tell me what I'm sorry. When did your family come here? When did your family come here? Don't tell me what I'm a good American or not. No. Because my family's been here since the 1830s. I'm sorry, my family's been here since the 1830s. So I'm a good American. I'm a good American. I'm a good American. I've got 5 generations that died for wars on this country. So no, I'm a good American. I just don't believe that slapping people.
And you're not willing to pay your share.
Oh, baby, I pay my share. I paid almost $100,000 in taxes last year. What about you?
Okay.
I paid $100,000 in taxes last year. What about you?
I'm glad you paid $100,000 in taxes.
Yes, but I paid my share. I paid my share. And I've got 4 generations of people that fought in the Civil War.
But you won't pay an extra $1,200 in consumer goods going on.
I'm American, dude.
So you'll pay $100,000 in taxes Probably because you don't know how to not pay taxes.
No, I know not how to pay taxes too. I have property that I own.
But the point is,
No, I write off my stuff, but relatively,
to try and fix the
relatively, I pay. That's pretty decent.
Your whole argument was that our manufacturing is not good, and we need to
said our
fix
manufacturing.
That.
You
if
can't. I said we can't
$1,200
bring.
is too much for you when you're willing to pay $100,000
No,
a
see,
year.
you're not
taxes,
even listening.
But
You only listen to half the comment.
In taxes?
No,
it's
what I
illogical.
said is you misunderstood. I said we can't manufacture everything in this country. That is impossible. We are not at the level, or we're good to do everything in this country. That is a fact. And now, if you want to live in your little la-la land to think America can do everything, then you go ahead about your isolation rules.
And that doesn't
But you said we did 75. Well, somebody said we have about.
Manufacturing. We're only doing this and that.
You misunderstood though. We cannot do everything in this country.
It's about choosing what manufacturing we can do and do what we should do. And if $1,200 a year is too much for you to pay, when you pay $100,000 a year in taxes, but $1,200, let me cry over it, when the tariffs are the leverage that you're taking away.
No, but I don't agree, because I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for the average American. The average American can't afford to pay $12,000 a year, sir. I'm sorry, the average American can't pay the $12,000 a year.
Coming back, and all the areas we do want, because nobody's suggesting that all manufacturing should be done. Just the important things. But Miss $100,000 in taxes doesn't want to pay $1,200.
But see, it's not about me. See, that's the point. When you have compassion and empathy, you understand the rest of the people in this country can't pay $12,000 like you can, right? Because you think just because you can, everybody should do it. No, that's not the point. What is best for our citizens is that they should have the freedom of choice and buy what is best for them and their household. And I don't think it's fair or efficient for our American citizens to have to pay an extra 40% to 110%, which was on some of the products, on their goods that are going into their households. That is a fact.
Can I ask you a question?
All right. So is a person who has less money going to consume more than the person who has more money? No. The answer is no.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you something. If you read the book and you read the fair tax, it explains all of this. And people want to attack the fair tax, and then they jump in it, and they only half honestly try to tear it apart when they don't really look at the embedded taxes and things. They forget about that completely in the narrative. But the problem is this. I know this because, okay, when we sell a building that's $10 million, a house, okay, that rich guy doesn't pay his fair share. Oh, wait. He's got the $10 million house on the water, and he's got 3, I'm not exaggerating, 3 condos in one building and 2 in another. I know the one we sold in a building, he was paying $200,000 a year in taxes. You know what? He bought that for his employees to use. Never got used. That's why he sold it. Didn't get used for 3 years. So he's paying and his main house is, I don't even know. I've never actually done my market on it, my market out in CMA. But I'll say it's probably about 30 million since his boat is about 150 million, right? It's a beautiful house. But he's paying on all these properties, and he has 0 kids in the system. He uses one of his houses, and he's paying, I don't even want to guess what a total would be. I know in his 3 condos, he's got to be paying about $450,000 in taxes. So you're telling me that the rich man isn't paying his fair share? No kids in the system. He's rarely here. When he's here, he flies in, he's on his boat. He ain't using the streets. He's employing people. He's got people at his house all the time, maintaining it, cleaning it, taking care of it. He's got a staff of 12 on his boat. Full time.
And your point is?
So my point is the rich are always going to pay far more in the tariffs than the little guy. So guess what? You can compensate for that. You can even do things like the fair tax said, hey, we're actually going to give a kickback. These little stimmy checks that Trump was talking about, you could do that to the people at the poverty line, and you can find out you don't even waste, they found this out, you don't waste a dime trying to find out who's at the poverty line. What you find out is where's that line in each state. Every person in that state gets that amount. And people said, well, why does the rich guy get the $142 to cover that taxes? He's going to steakhouse. He's going to give that tip to the freaking waiter because he's going to spend far more than that. It's irrelevant. It's about saving money. Send it to everybody. It nullifies the taxes. It nullifies the tariffs. And guess what? It doesn't hurt them. It helps them more than it ever helps any of us, even in the middle class. It helps those at the poverty line.
So you think so you're speaking trickle down economics,
we
right?
don't want to have solutions. We always want to attack everybody's way unless it comes from our side.
I didn't say it was right or wrong. What I'm saying is trickle down economics. That's what you're speaking of right now, right?
I'm telling you, there's ways to do this, and I'm telling you, he's right. If you and him are trying to compete, and I'm sitting here going, well, wait a minute.
I'm not looking for competition. I don't care. I'm just telling you, tariffs were not good for the average American.
Because guess what?
I'm just telling you that tariffs is not good for the average American.
For you for 38%, where the fuck, who's going to be manufacturing and sending it here? And you know what? India, everybody's always worried about China. Oh, India, you know them? Turkey, you know them? Both of them are trying to work out deals to start doing more manufacturing and taking it from China. Who does that advantage go to?
Yeah, because the tariffs are too high to import their shit into the United States. So what they believe is that they begin to isolate U.S. So once we become isolated and they create trade deals. See, you're not understanding. See, here's the problem.
What happened when China
Here's the problem. The U.S. is pointing their guns at several different nations, right? See, you can't pick a fight with everybody. See, what you don't understand is you can't pick a fight with everybody because at some point you will lose.
Guess what you do?
You can't pick a fight with everybody because at some point you lose. So this current, what's going on is you're picking tariff fights with everybody. And you know who's going to lose is our citizens.
What did the UN do the day after Trump said we're out? What did the UN do? I can tell you what they did without even fucking hesitating. If you knew...
Tell me what they did without fucking hesitating.
Thank you for admitting you have no fucking clue.
No, and I don't need to prove my knowledge to you. See, I'm not in a little mind penis world that I got to prove how big my dick is because I don't got one.
You were in that.
I don't got one.
$100,000.
Okay, so tell me, you're just mad because I make over $7 money, right?
Problem.
Oh, bitch, you just jealous. Now you got some hate going on here. You got some hate.
Because America
literally pulled
out in the next
but I just said, so tell me what. When people begin to personally attack,
saying we're broke and we're out of fucking business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the average citizen, though. I'm being real.
I'm talking about the European Union, you dumb.
No, I'm talking about the average citizen. Because what happens is, what you don't understand is
what I don't understand is they're broke witut us.
That's your assumption. Because, see, what happens is they can create, like in Davos, and other conversations that they've been having, even in Munich, when after Rubio made his speech, or did you see the speech that Rubio made? No, you didn't, right? Oh, yes, sorry, you're too dumb for that too. Okay, so what happened was that they're going to make their own free trade outside of us that may exclude us. And like I said, you can't pick a fight with everybody.
Who they doing it with?
Because when you're picking a fight with everybody, just because we're a superpower, someone will lose.
Who are they doing it with? China? Are you too stupid to fucking remember what they said about it when China came to them?
Oh, but China did come. But they're now doing deals with China, right? But they're doing deals with China now, aren't they?
You know what
they're doing deals with China?
No,
they're doing deals with India.
And you know why?
And they're doing deals with Malaysia. They're doing deals with everybody's doing deals now. And Trump is pissed off. And Trump is pissed off, and he's now telling them they better buy from us.
So then China went elsewhere, and China couldn't get it done, and then China came to the fucking table and bowed to fucking Trump and said, all right, fine, deal.
Actually, no, did you ever
Europe
see?
Said no. Europe said no.
He's laughing. Do you not see his face?
No.
Because the one thing China said was, they've been around for 2,000 years. They know how to do patience.
Europe said no.
You know what China said? They've been around for 2,000 years.
You know why Europe
said no? Do you think Trump's going to break China?
Europe said no?
Trump is only in the office for the next 3 years. You think they're going to break China? You got a dictator going against the United States.
You know why
China is not going to break. They've been around for 2,000 years.
China fucking loses?
They're going to be around. They've been around for 2,000 years. They'll be around longer than we will. So we need to learn how to play nice in the play yard.
Do you know what's happening to their economy?
You know what? We need to play nice
This
in
is
the
where you
playground.
don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well,
I do. I do.
What if the other people don't play nice with you? You still going to play nice?
When you don't play nice, then you don't do tariffs. You do trade agreements, right?
What trade
You create an incentive, but you don't have to. Just like sanctions exist.
Yeah,
I'm not against sanctions. I'm not against sanctions. I'm not against export compliance or trade compliance or regulatory compliance. What I'm not for is tariffs that harm our everyday citizens. That's it.
Well, tariffs are not necessarily harming us. We're forcing other people to lower their trade barriers. Because they've been erecting trade barriers left and right in all kinds of names. That's why we need to fight back.
Thank you.
I disagree that everybody has a trade barrier because just because somebody doesn't want to have modified GMO meat into their country, I think they have restrictions and standards. U.S. would like to export their beef. I'm giving you an example. I'm not rambling. I'm not rambling. No, I'm just being honest.
Okay,
some of the trade barriers that exist have to do with the quality of the meat or the quality of the product that's going into certain countries.
Jeep Wrangler has over 100% fucking tariff on it when it comes in.
For cars.
China literally nails the shit out of our cars so people don't buy them. So
but don't we literally nail the shit out of Chinese cars so that we don't have BYD on this market? We told Canada don't import BYD into their land. We're telling other countries don't do this.
Because
show me a $40,000 car in their country we're paying $100 for.
Well, but we tell other countries don't do this. Otherwise, we're going to raise your tariffs and we're going to cause you harm.
China did it to us first.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They raised the tariffs on on a Jeep Wrangler was the one that I used specifically looked up, and it was right around like $48,000 at the time I did the research, and they were paying over $100,000 if they wanted to buy one there because China wants them buying their stuff. So literally over twice the value. So yes, should we tariff? Yes. Show me a car in China.
Actually, no. Why don't we make Americans buy our stuff?
You just can't fucking stop. Now,
I'm just saying, why can't you just tell Americans to buy our stuff? Can you just mandate Americans to buy our stuff?
How do you do that?
Is that capitalism?
You guys are big.
That's because the left wants socialism. That's all.
No, I'm just saying. No, actually, it's the right that I'm not. It's not right or wrong. I'm just letting you know that certain administrations right now are buying into certain companies and telling them that they need to now operate in a certain principle.
Okay,
think the TikTok deal? We're not a free market anymore. We're doing TikTok.
Bribery, whatever.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't know how you say it, so I'm just fucking saying it because I haven't heard you say it. But here's the deal.
No, I don't need you to know it.
I don't want to fucking know it. I don't give a fuck. You're fucking 2 cents to me. Fucking shit you out tomorrow. I don't care. I don't care.
Now doing personal attacks. Personal attacks are a sign of insecurity.
There's no insecurity. It's your fucking attitude.
See, there you go. You gotta control yourself. Breathe in and exhale.
How come you can't shut the fuck up and listen?
Breathe in.
No wonder you're fucking single.
And I'm not single, actually.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
You wish I was. You're probably single. See, that's where you go.
Check on you.
You're probably single and been dumped about 500 times.
Yeah, not quite. Been in 3 fucking relationships, and this one's a
Oh, that's the only one. Oh, I'm sorry. And how old are you? 58? 70?
Yeah, I'm 72. And with the same woman for 41 years. So now you can get on your knees and do what you should be doing.
No, what?
You probably do that.